Portobello Road is a stamp by Iron Orchid Designs that can be used in so many ways, and here I've used it as a way to make a little gift for a friend or neighbor, and I was just going to use the one part of the stamp that is the bakery. So what I'm going to do first is ink up my stamp pad, and what you do is just add a little bit of ink, and then I like to spread it using one of the rubbing tools from IOD. This is a 2-set stamp, and this is the bakery part of the stamp set. It's a large stamp, and I'm putting it on a thin mount. I cut these into smaller pieces, and then I'm inking up my stamp with the black ink by Iron Orchid Designs. Once I have that inked up, I am going to take my blank to-go container, and these are a fun way to just create your own gift for people. And if you wanted to make cookies or a loaf of bread or even just purchased items in these boxes, it's a great little gift box. So as I place my stamp down, I hold with one hand and press with the other, and then do the same on the other side. I like to peek just to make sure that it made a good impression, and when it does, I just lift up. Again, I'm going to do the same thing on this little muslin bag. This was something that I got with a product that I bought, and I just kept the bag. And I put a piece of thin mount inside to give it that little bit of sturdiness for the fabric. So once I've inked this up, I do the same thing, pressing with one hand and holding with the other until I feel like I've made a good connection with the stamp and the fabric. And then I do always like to just lift up an edge and just make sure that it looks pretty good, and if there's any little spots, I press them down a little bit more and then lift straight up. Now I'm going to do a little decorating with these, and I decided to use a copper paint by DIY called Pennies from Heaven, and I just am going to add a little bit of highlights on the stamp. So this is on the little bit of the awning part, and then I'll go ahead and do the whole building area, but I'm not going to paint the whole thing, but just to add a little highlight. Again, I'm also going to use Pennies from Heaven, but then I also added a little bit of gold in there as well. This is Pale Gold by Paint Couture, and I just love the way it turned out. I'm going to do the same thing with the fabric. It does go on a little bit differently, and so I started with the gold and found it was a little, it just makes it a little bit darker on there, and it's fine. And once it dries, it actually does shimmer a lot more. And so I did, again, add little highlights of the copper as well. One thing when you're painting on fabric or even on the cardboard to-go box, you don't have to be perfect with this. The highlights really just give a little bit of a metallic look to it. You don't have to be perfect and get in the lines and all that, because once the product is finished, it just adds a highlight and not necessarily almost like a paint by number type of look. So that was it. I cleaned up my stamp with a baby wipe, and the project was done. It was a nice quick project, and as you can see, it's a great way to make a little gift for a friend. I baked up some cookies and thought this is the perfect little bag to put them in and take them to my neighbor. It's a great way to personalize your gift boxes and gift giving in the holiday season or any time of the year. Happy creating, and I'd love to see what you create.